Ocala, baby, what makes you look so good? Ocala, baby, what makes you look so good? Why don't you love me like I know you could?
I think she does love you, sir. She loves Ocala. She works for Ocala magazine, for crying out loud. Kelli Hart is in the studio, the effervescent Kelli Hart, and we're going to talk about Ocala magazine and Ocala. Good morning, Kelli. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Very good. First thing I want to mention is today is National Bosses Day.
Yes, it is.
So while I have an opportunity and it's fresh on my mind, I want to wish Linda Marks a very happy Bosses Day today on not just my behalf, but anyone that has an opportunity to work for her. She's a phenomenal boss.
Are you a good boss?
I would like to think that I am a good boss. I have really great relationships with people that have worked for me in the past, and you know, being in leadership roles from time to time, I would like to think that I am.
I bet you are.
I had a really great boss when I worked, and this was years and years ago when I was at the University of Florida. I worked for Dan Trueluck at Pedal Pusher Florist, and he was a really great boss. And I had had other bosses. You know, I worked at the Paddock Mall for a little while and worked for Terry Carey at the Blue Heron Art Gallery, and I had a lot of little jobs through high school and college. And when I worked for Dan Trueluck, I thought, this guy's a really great boss. You know, he's fun, he makes coming to work fun, he lays our responsibilities out really clearly and has high expectations, but, you know, he also tells us good job all the time. And so I thought, you know, if I'm ever a boss, I want to be just like, you know, Mr. Trueluck. So anytime that I'm in charge of anything or I'm in that kind of a role, I try to remember the things that made me happy to be an employee, and I try to operate that same way. And Linda does that. I mean, she's exceptional at doing that. She tells us, you know, what she thinks and her expectations, but she really allows us to have a lot of creative freedom, and that's a blessing.
And I'll tell you this, that I think when you listen to somebody speak positively about their bosses, especially their past bosses, because you got nothing to lose.
Right.
You can say whatever you wanted.
Right.
That says something about you.
Right.
I mean, you were smart enough and wise enough to recognize that, hey, this is a good person to work for. I looking back on my bosses, I might find one or two that was really horrible, but for the most part, they've been good.
Sure. Well, and I mean, everyone's opinion is different because everyone's also a different type employee. So I try to be an exceptional employee for someone that's my boss. So,
I'm sure you are.
So, I mean, you know, you could probably take a survey of people I've been, you know, an employer to, and they may have a different opinion. I'm sure if you ask people who have worked for Linda, they may have a different opinion. But I know her well enough to know, having worked now there for over 2 years, that if you say differently, the problem is
probably
likely
them.
with you. Right, exactly.
Right.
So happy Bosses Day to Linda. I hope she's listening.
There you go.
I also want to talk about an article that I had written for this month's issue, and it's called The Cyber Sybil Phenomenon, because we're all on social media, and social media is a part of everything. I mean, we can't really operate without it now. I mean, we could, but I mean, man, it makes it so much easier for us to collect news and gather facts.
What was the part of, did you say Sybil or civil?
Sybil.
Sybil, as in
multiple personality types.
Okay.
Yeah, so the way that I wrote it, you know, I went through a personal experience with someone who used social media for 3 years as a way to kind of antagonize and hurt me over time.
Oh, man.
Which resulted eventually in a court case. And
oh, no.
Yeah, and it's been pretty recent, actually. So
isn't that the unfriend button? Isn't that what that's for? Or is this
well, there's unfriend buttons, there's block buttons, there's a lot of measures that you can take, all of which I did. But when someone is really adamant and they're desperate in that way, there's so many ways around it. And that's one of the things that I talked about, is the anonymity with social media and how people can very easily, I mean, literally all you have to do is have an email of sorts and create a password, and you're on Facebook. And it's really just that quick and just that simple.
And wow, it's a great topic. As a smart adult, if you're affected to that extent, can you imagine what it's like for children?
I know.
Does your daughter have an account, like a Facebook?
My daughter does not.
No social media.
No social media.
Yeah, it's a good smart move.
No social media at all. And even though I've recently bought her an iPhone, so that when she's, you know, away from me, we're able to communicate, and I'm able to keep up with where she is and such. I monitor, of course, what she's able to do on the internet and go back and look at her calls and those types of things. So it is very dangerous, and it's twofold, and I think a lot of times we forget that adults can be as equally affected as children when it comes to people abusing social media. I have never been bullied as a child, thankfully. Of course, social media wasn't around when I was in my teens and youth years, like it is now, especially. But I mean, when someone is angry, be it a child or being an adult, and they are not of sound mind, and it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a child or if you're an adult. If there's someone out there that's hurting and they're antagonistic and they're wicked in that way, it really doesn't matter. And so the story touches on a little bit about my story and how, thankfully, through basically forcing someone through a long, lengthy legal process and costing her thousands and thousands of dollars, it has resulted in what I hope is an over and done situation.
I hope so too.
In fact, I was really careful the way that I wrote it, because obviously I don't want to relight any kind of fire in a person who's already very mentally unstable and angry. So I wrote about my experience. I also touched on some stories of children who have committed suicide because of social media.
Sure, yeah.
Well, I hate to say because of social media. It's like the person that says
it's
guns
not social
kill
media.
people.
Good point. Yeah,
it's really not social media.
It's the misuse of it.
Right. It's people who use that as a way to abuse things.
That would ruin Halloween, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're afraid of Facebook, that's going to be scarier than walking up to a house with a guy in a sheet.
Right. Well, and there was a time where I was literally afraid to log on to my accounts. There was one time where things got really heightened, and I was getting so much inbox messages and things from these random accounts, and things posted about me under fictitious accounts and names. And I mean, it was almost like I was afraid sometimes to open up my own account to do my daily Facebooking, because I was so afraid of what was going to be thrown at me that day. And you can be a really strong person, but come on, over time, the same thing over and over and over will wear on a person. And the sad part is, you know, if I drove to your house physically and I looked in your windows and knocked on your door and, you know,
I would say, hold on, I got to put some pants on.
Yeah, and I was always outside of where you work and things. I mean, there's statutes for that. There's ways to protect people from that physical stalking.
Right.
And unfortunately, the cyber world leaves a lot of room for, anonymity. And so you can think and you can know and you can almost guarantee it's a certain person, but it's much different than someone who is physically harming you, obviously, because, well, anyone may have used that IP, or many people use that computer, or how can we prove it was her behind the keyboard? And so it's really a difficult thing to prove. And I like to think that as an adult person, I have a pretty sound mind, but a child to go through something like this, it's almost unbearable.
Do you know, I haven't experienced this, but I'm going to relate to it because I have experienced the road rage thing.
Okay.
So let me use that as an example,
Sure.
because I think I can bring it back to it,
Okay.
to ask a question. So if I'm driving and there's just an absolute jerk behind me, next to me, whatever, right? And then I decide to just, I'm going to get mad at him, blow my horn, yell out the window, whatever. Mm-hmm. I could do that, or I could choose to not do that, which is what I do now.
Right.
Although once upon a time, ask Robin, ask Doug, they've been in the car with me, and that's not the Larry you know. Talk about civil.
Really?
Oh gosh, yes. People can get me mad. Or they have. Mm-hmm. I'm a calmer, gentler man now. Okay. But I learned actually that my reaction to them in that way didn't do me any good.
No.
Didn't do anybody any good.
No.
So to put it back to the social media, did you experience that same revelation where, oh my gosh, I'm getting all worked up, and this doesn't do me any good? This is probably what that
Sure.
person wants.
Absolutely. Well, like you, and keep in mind, as this was beginning to happen, I was at the very end of my marriage. So I was already going through, and I say this in here, I was going through the most difficult time of my entire life. Leaving my husband at the time and having to make some really hard decisions for myself, that's enough for a person to carry around with them day in and day out. At the very same time, this began. So I was already a very broken person. And I don't know if maybe that was her motivation. You know, I'm a very easy target, you know, right now because of what I'm going through. I'm not really sure, but my initial response was to defend myself. I was taking to Facebook and constantly saying, you know, this person said this about me and this isn't true, and this is on the internet now, and she's posted these things that'll never go away, and this isn't true. And I was constantly defending myself. And then I realized, I think she's sick enough to really enjoy that I get up and I think about what she's doing every day. Right. So I'm on her mind in some weird, sick, single white female kind of a way. So it was very hard.
A single white female kind of way. Okay.
It was very difficult for me because I am very opinionated and outspoken. Surprise. And so it was very hard for me to bite my tongue. But you know, luckily I have a great support system around me. I mean, and the people around me told me, Kelly, you can't give her what she's wanting.
Can I look into your head a little bit? Because I think I know something about you.
Sure.
You're a talented writer. That's easy to see.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
All right. So as a talented writer, when you are upset with somebody, you're probably composing articles or letters or posts. You're composing them in your head as you're driving the car.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is what's happening. Now, what does that take away from you? It takes away the time that same beautiful brain could be composing the next, you know, novel, the next beautiful story.
Well, it wasn't just even taking away my time. It was taking away my peace. I mean, it was really, it was really taking away my peace. And when you're a mom and you're a coworker and you're a friend and you're a daughter and you're in a place where you have no peace in your life, you can't be a good mom or coworker or a friend or a daughter. I mean, there was a part of me that was just not me. Felt like I was in some type of, you know, emotional war or something with this other person. And I finally just stopped. But something that I spell out in here is that there's different variations of what people will do online and different types of cyber bullying and crimes and such. And there are those people who, you know, they'll do something for some attention and then it'll die off. And, you know, that's kind of the norm. And I think a lot of us kind of have those tendencies. We might get worked up about a political campaign or something, but I mean, it's not something that we obsess about. Well, we really do eventually kind of let it go.
Politics and sports and
religion,
things of that nature.
Everything of that nature. But then you do have those people that it doesn't matter if you're ignoring them. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The problem really is within them. And so they've just got this storm brewing. You know,
have you ever seen mean tweets to Jimmy Kimmel's thing? The mean tweets?
Yes, I have.
Isn't that funny?
I have, and it's funny.
But doesn't that actually counter the mean tweets? When you see the person reading the mean tweet about themselves and everybody's laughing at it, doesn't the person who wrote that tweet feel like, oh, geez, it makes me look like an idiot?
Yeah, it does. And there was a lot of things that were, you know, that were said about me and put out there about me that were absolutely not true. And those things were hurtful because, I mean, this is where I'm from. This is a city I love, and I really do pride myself on trying to maintain the best reputation I can while still being human and accepting that I have human error. But I felt like, you know, I'm just going to kind of accept what's being said and understand that there are just those people that are so hurt and broken within themselves that if making some kind of fun of me or calling names or whatever as two adult people, if that's what really makes that other person feel better about themselves, then I'll just feel sorry for them and kind of move on about my day.
Let's move on and take a little break.
Okay, let's do that.
We'll be right back with Kelli and Ocala Magazine Radio. This is The Source, WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It is going to be a nice day today, a mixture of sun and clouds. The high 82 to 86. Partly cloudy tonight, a low 58 to 70. And tomorrow stays nice. Sunshine mixed with clouds again, the high 83 to 88. Sun, clouds with brief showers on Sunday, a little bit breezier and not as warm with a high of 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy. never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind, with a custom treatment plan that really works. I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
Career Source Citrus Levy Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source Citrus Levy Marion and learn how they can help you.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 840-0750. That's 840-0750.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, a new spoiler, and a new trunk.
We can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
That was my cue right there. I was supposed to say, welcome back. Kelli Hart is here from Ocala Magazine, and of course this segment is called Ocala Magazine Radio. And the first part, we're talking about an article that you put in the magazine, Cyber Sybil. Yes. So get to that part of this where people have double personalities.
Well, it basically just spells out the anonymity of the internet. So in my personal experience, what was happening was the person who was making these attacks on me was able to hide behind the anonymity of social media. And
so the average viewer or reader wouldn't know who was making those remarks?
Right.
Oh, really?
Right. So it was this person this day and this person this day, and they'd create a page, say what they want, shut the page down, start a new page.
Oh, really? So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And fortunately for me, in my situation, this person worked at a local insurance agent for a brief stint of time, and it also just worked out that the person who did all of their computer technology was a classmate of mine. And when he learned of this situation, he just, being a compassionate
he hacked it. Figured out who it was?
He didn't hack it, but what happened was when he went in to do a routine update on their software and on their programs, on this girl's particular computer, he did look at the history and the browsing and the cookies and things that leave a trace.
Yeah.
And was able to pinpoint that
Hope nobody ever looks at my history.
From that computer. Oh, I know. We joke around all the time at the magazine. I said if I ever were to get in trouble and they took my computers, because we've written stories on racism and on transgender and on drugs. And I mean, I've Googled everything imaginable. So they would think that I was an absolute nut job. But so they were able to pinpoint it, which really was a pivotal moment for me, because I felt like finally I have some ground to be able to get some kind of peace for myself and for my family. And it was a process, and not everybody is fortunate enough to be able to pinpoint the person. Most people know. Most people aren't smart enough. They'll have a feud, especially girls. We're the worst because we're so emotional. We'll have a feud, and then 24 hours later, these things are being said. And it's like, well, I mean, I just had a feud with you, so it's pretty obvious where this is happening. And I don't like to feud with many people, and so when this started, it was immediately after a conflict.
But if you moved away, if you did the one thing you could do to absolutely get rid of all of the stuff is to move to another town, which would be a shame. That person would find somebody else to pick on. That's what I think. I don't think it's you.
Oh, absolutely. I was not the first case scenario for this person, and I can promise you I will not
be
the last.
If you're outdoors, a mosquito's going to bite you.
Right.
When you go inside, that mosquito will find somebody else.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's not isolated. And typically in these types of situations, people that will really take it to this level and create fake accounts and really obsess over the use of the internet to do these types of behaviors, it's not isolated typically.
See, when you use the word Sybil, I thought there was going to be a story about people who are like really sweet and nice on Facebook, but in person they're not, or the other way around. They're nasty on Facebook and they're just sweet as can be in person.
Well, what's ironic is usually these people who are doing these types of behaviors on their own personal page behind their own name. I love Jesus, let's cure cancer.
Oh, no.
I love kittens, these types of things, which is really scary because, and we all know that person. I mean, we probably know multiple people. I know right now in my life, I could name off a list of people that I know personally, and I know the things that are going on in their life. I know things that they're doing in their life, myself included. But on Facebook, it's almost like a totally different persona. And that's what's so scary is because we're using social media now as a way to meet people. And not just, friends and coworkers, but people we may spend the rest of our lives with. And I think it's great for that. I really do. I mean, when you're in a small town, you know a lot of people, but you're also very busy and you're not in the bar scene. I think it's a great tool to be able to start conversation and dialogue and maybe perhaps meet somebody. The scary part is it's so easy to portray one thing online, and then in real life, in real stressful real life situations, you start to see that the person that I met online is very much different from the person that I'm, plugged into face to face. So, that's why, and I think there's some degree on everybody. I mean, I'll go on Facebook and I'll post, religious things, but obviously in real life I'm struggling and sinning.
That doesn't mean you don't believe.
No, I very well mean. One thing about me is if I've posted it on my page,
you mean it.
I mean it.
Yeah.
Good, funny, bad, love it or leave it. If I put it there, I mean, I'm a pretty transparent person, and I try to really add up to the way that I portray myself online. But there's always a degree of difference between online person and real life person in every situation. It's when it gets to this level that it becomes not just scary, but actually very dangerous. So if you have not picked up this issue of Ocala magazine, please do, because there's obviously a lot of great features that we know that you will enjoy. Also, like us on Facebook, because we are doing our Best of the Best People's Choice Awards every day. And so we go in and we add up the day's nominations, and then we change the category, and it's a lot of fun, being that it's open-ended, and so the possibilities are endless. So
pick somebody who's the best of the best.
The best. Yes, when you think best, who do you think of?
The hardest thing to pick the best is pizza.
Well,
because there are some that are really good and others that are really good.
Right.
And kind of hard to say which is the best.
Well, and your best might be a pepperoni and my best might be a margarita. And so how can you tell, right?
Margarita pizza?
Yes.
So I haven't had that.
Well, that's the best, Larry. So that's what you have to have.
Do you put salt on your pizza?
Absolutely.
See me? I always put salt on my pizza.
I put salt on everything.
Really?
Yeah.
That's me too.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, Larry, and we want everyone to like us on Facebook. Happy Bosses Day. Make sure that you at least say Happy Bosses Day to your boss. It'll get you a little, I mean, it's got to do you some
good,
right?
Be a nice gesture, Joe.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell your boss Happy Bosses Day and maybe pick them up a cupcake or something.
There you go. Thank you, Kelli.
Larry.
It's always fun.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.
California women is mighty fine, and the New York girls blow your mind. I've been all around coast
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. Clashes in Bethlehem where Palestinians are calling for a day of rage in the face of escalating violence.
Rioters in the distance, several hundred. We're getting closer and closer to the West Bank wall. I'm trying to push up closer here. The troops came barreling out. First of all, this armored vehicle. It has tear gas. So that created then a smoke screen for the troops. The troops right here came flying out. They opened fire with rubber bullets.
Fox's John Huddy in Bethlehem. Over the past month, 8 Israelis were killed in Palestinian attacks. More than 30